show. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are talking about holiday art. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and if you are like me, you have probably seen a lot of Valentine's Day art projects popping up on Pinterest and other blogs. So the big idea that I'd like to discuss in this episode of the Art Intertwine podcast is, should we as art teachers be making holiday art? I know that there are a lot of art teachers out there who do not create holiday art, and for the most part I am one of them. However, like I said, I'm seeing a lot of Valentine's Day inspired art projects currently, and so there is a lot of teachers that are still creating holiday art. So one argument might be that, is using a holiday any worse than teaching any other theme? So is creating Valentine's Day themed art really any worse than creating, say, space themed art? And you could argue that by creating holiday art, your students are actually creating art that has a meaningful connection to their world. However, I would suggest that there are so many other meaningful types of art that your students could create that do have meaningful connections to their worlds, that you do not have to rely on holiday art, and that holiday art might be the lazy art teacher's theme of choice. As art teachers, we see it's Valentine's Day, great, everybody's gonna make red oil pastel hearts. Perfect, done. I can wipe my hands of it, I've got my lesson, I don't have to think any further than that. And you might say, oh, okay, we're going to learn about oil pastels. As a medium, we're going to make oil pastel hearts. And check, they've learned how to use oil pastels. Is that really creating a meaningful art experience for your students? Sure, it connects to a holiday that's happening right now. I'm sure all your students are super into Valentine's Day, but they're probably also really interested in other things. And do you have to rely so heavily on holidays to create your curriculum? So I'd like to share a brief story that really, when I was thinking about doing this as a topic, popped into my mind right away. So during my practicum, I had a teacher who was doing a exploratory art class for middle school students, and this was right before Christmas, so in December, and they were creating stained glass windows, and I was going to be the sort of helper teacher, for lack of a better term. And while this teacher was explaining how we're going to do the construction paper, tissue paper, kind of classic stained glass windows, she also said to me, you know, one year we left these up all year long, and in May and June at the end of the year, those super sunny days, the entire window was covered in these stained glass windows that the students had created, and when the sun came in, it created such awesome color into the room. It was really cool. All the kids really enjoyed it. It was just fantastic. And I'm thinking to myself, then why are you making these in December when there's like no sunshine? Like why? Why are stained glass windows considered holiday art? There really isn't a very strong connection, and yet my own stained glass art lessons that I have get tons of views around November, December, sometimes even January. So if you have stained glass, which I would think you would want as an art teacher to teach more of the history of that, from medieval times even to people like Frank Lloyd Wright using stained glass in his architecture, rather than saying, oh, it's December, it's close to Christmas, hey everybody, let's make some stained glass windows, yay! How is that really making the art meaningful? And maybe that's why I'm against holiday art, because the argument that holiday art is meaningful to your students' world is, in my mind, outweighed by the fact that you want to make art itself meaningful. And I think a lot of art teachers have seen that holiday art diminishes our roles as art teachers and diminishes the subject that we teach. I'm sure there's lots of art teachers out there who have had their students regular or core, and don't even get me started on that, why art's not part of core. Teachers say to them, oh, can you, in your class, can you make a gift that they could give their moms for Mother's Day or give their fathers for Father's Day? Are you kidding me? Art is a valid subject. It should have a level of importance to it. We as art teachers should not be making gifts or making crafts in that sense. And crafts does have a valid part in art as craft makers and artisans. That is separate from making a construction paper heart that you're going to give your mom as a present. You want to do that in your core class, core teachers, go ahead and do that. In the art room, we are doing serious, meaningful artworks. And thinking about this even further, some art teachers have said, I don't do holiday art, but I do seasonal art. And I'm thinking, really? Seasonal art? In my mind, unless you're linking it with other subjects, namely science, do you really have to do, say, snowflakes in January? Do you have to do a snow scene of trees in December? I think that, again, is this the lazy art teacher that's pushing this seasonal and holiday art? I think there's so many themes, there's so many different ways to teach art, even without themes, that why are we relying on holidays? And I know that there's a whole debate over the fact that not every student, not every person celebrates the same holidays, in particular ones that have religious connotations. But even if you think about national or international holidays such as, say, Arbor Day, or here in BC we just celebrated Family Day, do we really need to create art around that? Can we not make family portraits in March when it's not Family Day, but we want to maybe look at artists who did family portraits? We want to have our students learn how to do portraits. Yes, Family Day might offer a convenient in to learning about portraiture and family portraiture, but do we really need that holiday to schedule our curriculum? I kind of think not so much. If you agree with me, leave me a comment under this post. If you totally disagree with me, also leave a comment. I'd love to know how everybody feels about holiday art. Does it have a place in your art room? Before I finish this episode, I would like to introduce a new segment I like to call the Art Shout Out. Yes, I had to do that sound effect. Where I want to celebrate what other art teachers are doing and art bloggers are doing. For this episode's Art Shout Out, it has to go to Phil at There's a Dragon in My Art Room and her awesome post on how to create a rockin' still life. Phil posted this on her blog back in January, but it's just been in my mind this whole time because it's just such an awesome, well-detailed post. She talks about how to not only pick items for a still life, but also how to arrange them, theme suggestions, how to create a still life in the round. So if you've got it in the middle of the room, how you can have all the kids in your art room surrounding the still life, getting different vantage points or different viewpoints, as well as how to attach drapery and fabric, what fabric maybe to avoid, and different variations on creating a still life. For example, doing a white on white still life. Just a fantastic post. It was really cool to see all of the different objects that she's collected over the years. Some very cool stuff, especially the little coconut man. And part of seeing the objects that she's collected, her pictures in general, showing the same still life from different angles or different views, really cements, in my mind anyway, just how varied your students' artworks will be by creating a fantastic still life. Phil also provides a lot of tips or tricks on putting together a still life in terms of things that might scare your students, such as glassware or fabrics. Your students might try to get all those little details or feel like they can't be successful in getting all those little details. And Phil does a great job of saying, you know what, your students don't have to worry about that. Make it really clear to them that the fabric is just background. What you really want to focus on is the objects. She also provides some still life references for your students to look at. So different artists who are really good at creating a still life that they can be inspired by. As well, she does talk about themes, which ties in to the holiday topic of this podcast. And so if you are kind of wanting to tie in a holiday into your art room, creating a holiday themed still life might be a cool way to do it that's not going into a more traditional thing of, red and pink hearts or creating Valentines. Now you've got, hey, let's create this Valentine still life, and we're actually creating meaningful artworks that aren't just about the holiday. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Again, agree with me, disagree with me, please leave your comments. Totally check out There's a Dragon in My Art Room, how to create a rockin' still life post. Thank you so much, Phil. That was an awesome post. Like I said, it's from January, but it was so good. It's still in my mind. I'm still thinking about it here almost a month later. Even though I'm against holiday art in the art room, I do hope that everyone has a fantastic Valentine's Day, and hopefully you will be back listening to the next podcast on Art Intertwine.